Hello, everyone. I have a fortune cookie in my hand.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Oh, I gotta open. Just gotta undo the wrap.
Yeah,
That cellophane off. That's for freshness.
right.
I'm gonna open it. Oh, this is stale. Ooh, ooh, ooh. What the heck? Ah,
What?
this is not crispy, dude. I don't know if I want to eat this. Oh,
Oh,
oh, oh,
is it
oh.
stale?
Like the ice cream cones you got at school lunch.
Oh
Oh,
gosh. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
no. Oh, but I want to be cursed for the new year.
Right.
Okay. Here's your ASMR
Yeah.
for eating a stale fortune cookie. Let's read
Right.
this SOB. Your next Chinese meal will bring you more cookies. That's not a real. Okay, the other
Oh
side.
man. Well, I mean, as far as fortunes go, it's probably pretty accurate.
Oh, this is wonderful. Your financial choices will shape your financial future. That's the fortune. No way. My
Well, that
financial
one's pretty
choices.
spot on too.
Yeah. That's like your dietary choices are gonna reflect on your health in the future, unless you're Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. I'm still chewing a horrible stale fortune cookie. This was evil. Never again. Maybe my fortune will be no more fortune cookies for a while. Welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Age Boomer. It's my co-host, Pacelli.
Hello, hello.
You can catch him on Friday nights with myself and for Last Call with Troy Pacelli, and we are on other streams. For instance, we may be on this Tuesday with deleted scenes, but we'll
Yep.
we'll get that ironed out. JPRPH1, welcome. Carnarvon Fedora Mumbler logo, yes. We had a very good stream on Friday. We talked about music videos. There were some good music videos last year, though. Maybe that'll be a future stream. We'll strive to find decent videos from the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But
That would
we have
be
to do another
an
80s
interesting
night.
attempt for me because I don't know music
Okay,
or music videos from
I
recent
see.
times.
Well, we don't have to do it right away. We can keep it with the 80s stuff. Good evening, gents. Have a great live stream. Thank you, Crispy. Welcome, Lady Mist. Apparently, I got a big deleted scenes, unscripted people popping in. So, welcome everybody. Welcome, Big Al. I was on Friday with Big Al
Yeah.
for our rewatch of the two-parter Robin and Sherwood episode, "The Swords of Wayland." You know about the 7 Swords of Wayland?
I do not.
That's okay. It
I
was
guess
made
I'll
up for
have
the
to go
show.
back and watch the stream.
Yes, the 7 Swords of Wayland. Welcome, Connie Cleary. Welcome, Netter of Netters Network. Welcome, Rosefire. Good to see you. Break out those shovels and pour a hot toddy because it's winter madness with What is a hot toddy? Is that like alcoholic?
It is. It's sweetened lemony whiskey with boiling water, so it's almost like a tea.
Cool. Connie Cleary, welcome. Deleted Scenes, welcome. Space Fraggle, welcome. Hail to the Geeky Geezers. Let's see. Am I missing anybody? JPRPH1, if I missed you. Samuel Proctor. Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights, welcome. Any good sports highlights as of late? Let's see here. Let me just scroll through. You've been busy
bad,
this
I don't
week,
even know what
haven't you?
sports season it is. Oh, I have. So I found that and I knew this was coming. StreamYard sent me my statement, that my subscription's going to, or whatever you call it, is going to renew in February, and they're raising the prices and lowering the service, and I'm like,
get it?
Screw that. I can get the same service that I was getting for more than $100 cheaper through Evmux.
We're working
which I am working on, I've gone ahead and gotten a year subscription with them, but there's a huge learning curve. I have a lot to learn. So things like the backgrounds, the intros, the outros and stuff, I'm still trying to figure out how to get those on there. So
we'll get there.
Yeah.
MK, welcome. So here we are. All right.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's get into this. So we always like to start out our streams, if you are new to us, MK, talking about the good old days. And tonight we're talking about the good old days of Nosferatu.
Wow, we're talking old good old days. This is definitely before the time of anybody who is in this stream. I don't care how much older you are than me, you're still not old enough to remember when Nosferatu, Symphony of Terror was released.
Yeah, that was back in the... What year was that, actually, Nosferatu? Let's see.
That's a good question. Let me look it up
real quick. But you must like this movie. I don't know that I've ever seen the silent version, though you did mention that it is on Midnight's Edge.
1922. 1922 was when it was originally released, and I think just to be fair with this, yes, I will drop the link for... So here's the thing. Let's back up a little bit. Nosferatu, Symphony of Terror, was released in 1922. It was held up in a big rights issue. The estate of Bram Stoker sued because it was really just an unauthorized film version of Dracula. And they said, okay, well, we'll change the names and we'll change the setting and, change a couple other things. Court decided that wasn't enough, and all prints of it were supposed to have been destroyed. But as we know, it wasn't. There were a number of prints of it that continued to exist. And especially today, because of, preservation efforts and so forth, it's very easily found online, many different versions of it. And it has since fallen into public domain, long time ago. It's been public domain for a long time. So there are various DVD versions of it that are available out there for like $1 or $5 or whatever in the bins, as you're checking out at like Walmart or whatever. And I happen to have a copy. And so I saw that just this past year, Midnight's Edge did a restoration of it. Again, it's public domain, so they can do whatever they want. They upscaled it to 4K. They corrected the color tinting on it, and I'll explain that in just a second. And Andre of Midnight's Edge, who speaks, I believe these were originally printed, the what do you call it? The
German?
It was a silent film, so all of the dialogue was printed out, and you had to read them. But it was all in German. And so he translated them. And lots of translations exist too, by the way. And some of them really changed the story. So Andre went and he did his own translation, good faith translation, trying to do the best he could to maintain the integrity of the story. And but you're seeing, the previous screen you saw was tinted blue. This one, yes, exactly. The one you were just showing was tinted yellow. What you have to understand is we imagine all of these films to be black and white. They weren't black and white, though. They were monochrome. So they were black and white with a single color, a color tint that was put over the black and white. And those were chosen at the time of development of the film to connote things like time of day, things like mood. They had a meaning behind them. And over the years, some of the prints out there had the incorrect tint. So the guys over at Midnight's Edge went in and corrected the tint on the colors as well. If you're upscaling it to 4K, you might as well, right? And Tom Connors did a new composition of music to go with it. So I dropped that link there. That's the full film. You could go to Midnight's Edge right now. I prefer that you wait until after the stream and go. Yeah, well, wait until midnight. Sure. And watch that entire film as many times as you want. Please hit the like button and maybe subscribe while you're there. But yeah. So most people know at least the story of Dracula. If you don't know, the more detailed story about Nosferatu. But again, they changed character names, they changed settings, they changed other thematic elements in the story that do make it a significantly different story. But anyone who knows Dracula kind of knows, this is basically the same story.
Doesn't care for garlic bread.
I actually don't remember if Count Orlok is the name of this character, replacing the name of Count Dracula. I don't remember if he. I don't think he did eat anything, and I don't think he was necessarily repelled by garlic. I honestly don't remember what his specific strengths and weaknesses were, other than probably the most important one that most people remember is that Count Orlok is killed at the end of the film. Spoiler for a more than 100-year-old film. It's actually 103? 103-year-old film.
Yeah.
He dies because the sun rises and the sun kills him. Very cool special effect in the original film because it involved kind of a dissolving of he like holds up his hand to the light and he kind of dissolves away. It was actually a
big thing for the day.
It was very cleverly done. As opposed to, despite what people believe, Dracula was not at least based on the novel and the original film, he was not repulsed by sunlight. His powers were weakened in daylight, but he was not like killed by it. He was not, if you open up the curtains, he didn't burst into flames. That whole concept of the vampire being killed by sunlight kind of started with Count Orlok here.
Yeah. Usually in vampire tales prior to this, vampires weren't at full power during daylight, but the daylight didn't kill them. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that comes from this. Now I do know that, I don't know if you want to talk about the remake that was made in 1979. Did you see this one?
I was going to say there's been a number of remakes done, including this one in 79 with Klaus Kinski.
Werner Herzog directed. Yeah.
It was an intense one too. Yeah, look at that. It was intense. And it really did keep alive a lot of the flavor of the of what I think Nosferatu was going for. So a recurring theme with the Nosferatu version, I'm going to call it the Nosferatu version of Dracula, okay? It is kind of standalone, but it's always going to be integrally tied to Bram Stoker and Dracula. One of the elements of the Nosferatu is corruption. I think more so than what you see in the novel of Dracula and in film adaptations of Dracula. Disease and pestilence follow Count Orlok. He controls swarms of rats.
Disgusting.
Which, of course, you think bubonic plague, you think, rabies and any other number of possible pestilence they would deliver. And it's less about corrupting the individual that he is, mesmerizing and drinking from and so forth. That's part of it, to satisfy his own personal needs, but he's literally trying to corrupt the world around him, right? He literally is, and getting back to the original film. There's plenty of other YouTube videos that you could check out that talk about this, but the director and several of the people that worked on the film were very, very much into the occult, and I mean that in the literal sense.
Yikes.
Like they really studied the esoteric and
grimoires and stuff like that, and
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And they worked a lot of that stuff into the film. And a lot of those themes were kind of reflected within the film itself. And it was this idea of a demonic entity. I mean, more so than you expect from Dracula. I mean, we think of Dracula as an undead, kind of related to like the Mummy and the vampires and so forth. But the idea of an actual demon in human guise, trying to undermine the creation of God and the promises of Scripture.
Well, if you think about it too, it's basically Christ in reverse, because
3 days, 3 days in the tomb, and the drinking of blood, and
instead of the shedding of blood to give us eternal life, they drink our blood so they have eternal life.
They literally take blood, because again, it ties to the scripture from Old Testament that the life is in the blood, which is why there are so many in Leviticus. There are so many rules about how food should be prepared, the so-called kosher laws. Certain foods should not be eaten, and if they are, any animal flesh, the blood has to be drained in very certain ways. There
were very, very specific ways of how you would slaughter an animal. So that was always interesting.
Darth Plato's bringing up did I get that one right? Yeah. A historical Dracula was a voivode of Transylvania. Yes, and there's a lot of debate among literature scholars on how much you can rely on the actual history of the real world Vlad Tepes III in terms of the Dracula of Bram Stoker, and how much Bram Stoker actually knew of that history beyond, hey, that's a cool story, and he was a noble, and maybe he's a vampire. That's so, and different interpretations of Dracula since then have played more and less with that. Interestingly, of course, Orlok here is completely divorced from, any real world historical analog. So, yeah.
So this was another remake. Of course, we have the current remake out in theaters, but there were also other adaptations, or maybe not. Let's jump. Are we done with this version?
Yeah, sure.
Nosferatu for the Super Nintendo. Okay.
And I think although they did some work on this, I do think that this was kind of co-opting some of the artwork from Dungeons and Dragons. But that's okay, because I personally think that this piece of art is changed enough that you can say, okay, yeah, that's original enough.
This was a game that had been announced in Nintendo Power early on when the Super Nintendo came out. This thing must have gone through what we call development hell, where it was passed around from developer to developer. Finally came out in 95 of all years. I did snatch it up because I was really wanting to play this game. But Pacelli is right. I keep kosher, and kosher meat is salted thoroughly to drain the blood out. Even a blood spot in egg means the egg isn't kosher and needs to be discarded. Interesting.
I have done a lot of study on the kosher laws. It should not impact your faith in any way to do a good scientific study on the kosher laws. You can't help but, I personally think it should build your faith. So much of the kosher law, you look at it and you go, that we know why these are good ideas.
Yep.
You know, if there's a spot of blood in your egg, that means that egg was fertilized. And normally you want to eat unfertilized eggs.
Ooh.
You really need to prepare a fertilized egg differently. There are different microbiotic contaminants that you would have to deal with. And don't even get me started with the whole membrane versus non-membrane, you know, English versus American, refrigeration versus non-refrigeration. There's a lot of things that go into keeping your food safe. Another one, of course, being, you know, if your meat is not very, very fresh and you want to keep it for any length of time, what was the first way that they preserved it? It was salting it and drying it. Well, those two things actually go together. So is that not literally drawing the blood out of it? So yeah, it's almost as though, you know, when God told his people, you know, eat these foods and not these foods, and if you do eat these foods, this is how you got to prepare it. It's almost like you know, he knew some things they didn't, and he was trying to keep people safe. Just saying.
But anyway, this is Nosferatu, and this is done Prince of Persia style. Do you know the old Prince of Persia game?
Yes, I do.
It's very much in that vein.
It's kind of a side scroller, but kind of 3D too.
We call it, they used to call it like cinematic side scrollers because the character would move like an actual person as opposed to a game character. Now, this, of course, would make the gameplay a little trickier because, you know, people stumble, they can only jump so far. It's not like Super Mario, basically, you know. But
it's funny you mentioned Super Mario because Rosemary says, which video game character would be the most fun to go up against Super Nintendo Nosferatu? And I gotta say, you know what I'd love to see? Mario. I think that would be funny. You know, especially when he grabs the mallet to like drive the stake. I wanted to make the music from Donkey Kong when he grabs the mallet.
It's funny you mentioned this, Rosefire, because there's a fan version of Mario that's Mario in Castlevania, like where they theme the stages around Castlevania. So it has that whole vampire type theme to it. It's fans made it. It's not made by Nintendo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the thing is with fan made stuff, they could reskin just about anything, and I think that's really kind of cool. They did that back in the day with Doom. They made it a Star Wars first person shooter before we had Dark Forces.
Go on if you go on your that Doom I got you, if you go on the mod community where you can download the mods, I think that Star Wars one is there.
No kidding. I'll have to check that out. Cool.
There's a Simpsons one. They put all sorts of things on there. But back to this though. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but what I always found interesting is, so your girlfriend's kidnapped, and you know, you got to go take out Nosferatu. Are you going to do it with a gun or some holy water or a whip like Simon Belmont? Nope. You're going to use your bare fists to go through this.
That's
badass. Bare fists and roundhouse kicks, and you're going up against like the Frankenstein monster, and you're punching him literally with your own fists. And I'm like, this guy's you get like these special crystals, I think. But like, look at this. Like he's fighting some kind of goblin creature underneath a moon. And you know, it's
my gosh.
It was all right. It's an interesting game, very rare Super Nintendo game. Luckily, I bought it when it came out because I was waiting for this game ever since I got a Super Nintendo, so I do own a copy of it. But anyway, it really has nothing to do with the prior mentioned movies that we just talked about, except then let's just throw the name on there because people know Nosferatu.
Oh, sure.
And that is the name for vampire. But we also got this other game, which I haven't played yet, but you have.
You haven't played this one yet. Okay.
The Wrath of the
Unfortunately, I'm gonna spoil the first jump scare in the game. This game, let me tell you, is incredibly frustrating. I'm still trying to figure out the controls for this thing. I certainly haven't made it past. Oh, I haven't seen anything like this yet. I haven't even gotten through the first level yet. It's so frustrating. The whole backstory is your, I don't remember if it was niece or cousin or sister or something, is getting married to this German noble named Malachi or something like that. And it turns out he's a Nosferatu. And you now got to go and save the entire bridal party at the castle. You get into the castle, enter the courtyard. The very first thing you hear is a scream, and right where you were in that courtyard. There's a scream and a crash, and you're like, "Holy crap! What the heck was?" And I was wearing headphones too, so it was like, and I'm looking around like I'm going to see something in my room, right? And I'm looking around trying to find, is something attacking me? Nothing's attacking me. It was a little anticlimactic, I got to admit. And then you find a priest off to the left who's been thrown from a window above, who gives you some piece of information and a note or something like that. Go get help. Where the heck am I supposed to go get help? I have to just leave him there, doing the animation.
Is he like impaled on a spike or something?
No, he's just lying there hurt. And it's like, there's nothing you can do for him. And I'm like, this is incredibly frustrating. And then the next door I go through, I got killed 3 times trying to figure out how to fight. This was... I don't even know anything about what this has to do with Nosferatu yet. That's how far I haven't gotten into it yet.
Here's what I've heard. I think when it was originally reviewed on IGN years ago, they said it's a good game. It's not a great game, but it's good. It's got good enough scares. It's a good diversion.
So far, I'd say that evaluation is holding up. Yes.
It costs 59 cents though, so I hope you enjoy.
Well, I know
we'll see if that's worth your hard drive space. But anyway,
I'll tell you what, that graphic is better graphics than I've seen in the rest of the game. This must be a setting or something where you can,
I think you can tweak the graphics and make it look better if you go into settings. They do allow that with the version you have, but because I know Razorfist was doing that on his channel.
Scared the heck out of me though when that happened. And then all the monsters that I faced after that. And what am I fighting him with? A sword. I don't have, that cross that you're holding up in that
shoot
picture,
beams out?
It doesn't do crap, at least as far as I've found.
Oh, I thought it would shoot like electricity.
No, it does nothing that I've found yet.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm holding it up and I'm dead. I'm holding it up, I'm dead. Cut him with the sword, he goes down. And I'm standing over it trying, you can't attack, something that's dead. It's just a game mechanic. And I'm sitting here going, this thing ain't dead. I'm going to walk away and it's going to get up and kill me. And it didn't. But I'm like, Anyway, we've missed some comments here. Willem Dafoe, he was in 2 versions. Yes, I was telling Netter about this the other day. Shadows of the Vampire, he plays Count Orlok. The conceit of that particular film is they go back to the original filming of the original, 1922 or whatever film. And the Max Schreck, who's playing Orlok, actually is a vampire. I mean, not like he's an actor who is so into his role he's crazy and believes himself to be a vampire. He really is a vampire, and the director knows this and is trying to keep him from killing people all around him until the film is done.
Yelling, "You killed my cinematographer. Why didn't you kill the script girl?" It's like,
exactly.
I forgot. I meant to put Shadow the Vampire in the slideshow. I do apologize because
that's
I
okay.
didn't think of that.
We brought it up. Michael from Retro Blasting. For a second, I thought it was Indiana Jones in the Great Circle. I was about to scream, "The Cross of Cardinado is in the game." No. That probably would have been better. Like I said, you're in a vampire game. You start off with this damn cross, and the cross doesn't do crap. And honestly, it's funny you say this, Michael, because having watched your play, the first playthrough that you were doing, and the frustration you were having, I'm having the same problem with this game, figuring out what controls do what, how to move, how to attack. Having to forget everything I know about fighting vampires. You'd think a cross would work. No, cross doesn't work at all. Oh, a sword works and he doesn't get back up? Okay, if you say so, But we also didn't say hi to Joshua V. Hello there, Joshua V. Thanks for being here. And Matt Anui. Good to see you, my friend. So... My generation knew Nosferatu through SpongeBob SquarePants.
Did he show up on SpongeBob? That's interesting.
So there was I don't know if it was like a Halloween episode. I did not watch. I have not seen a single episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. Not my wheelhouse. But I did see a YouTube video talking about it. And apparently they did this bit where, the whole scary play on a prophecy. Someone makes a prophecy and then the things start coming true. And it turns out at the end of the thing, everything was completely innocuous. It all did come true, and it seemed scary at the time, but it was all just, happenstance, and it wasn't what anyone thought, except for one thing. He said, well, wait a minute, the lights went out. Why did the lights go out? And then they cut to the side where Orlok, the Nosferatu from the original film, is flicking a light switch on and off, and everyone laughs. And it makes absolutely no sense because, again, these are characters that all live under the ocean. And, if you think about it too much, why is this character from a silent film a vampire? Does he live under the water?
Why not? You have to remember the sun's rays, right?
But it doesn't matter for a single gag, right? But then they revisited it and made him a whole character in a whole episode, and it really does push it to the point of absurdity, and it kind of misses the point of what made the humor funny in the first place. Yes, I agree. First person is no good for melee combat games, and yet they keep effing doing it. Because, unfortunately, I can tell you exactly why they do this, Michael.
Not great for platforming either.
It is specifically because they think these morons that make games that maybe don't actually play games think that this is, in quotes, immersive, right? Which would be fine if this was some sort of a VR game and your controls were literally, you reach out and grab and shoot and do and, whatever. That's not what these are. They are actually counterintuitive, because whereas you would reach out to pick something up, you have to know to press, the forward button, right thing to move the hand, the X to pick something. It's the point is, Michael, I'm 100% with you on that. Yes.
Welcome, Darkwood Presents. I see you're in the chat as well. But yes.
There you go.
But yeah, this is our retrospective of Nosferatu, and yeah, check out Shadow the Vampire. I meant to include that. That's a great performance by William Dafoe.
One other thing I also wanted to drop was, and this is probably going, well, I'll hold off on that because we will talk about the new movie in a moment.
And check out Retro Blasting's channel. He has a great video on movie to game adaptations that I enjoyed. I don't know if you knew this. They did a game movie adaptation based on the Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula movie for both NES and Super Nintendo.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, that makes sense.
Except there's no naked.
Was it any good?
I don't know about the NES version. Super Nintendo version is, I'm going to be kind and say it's okay.
Okay. There you go.
I wanted to and then there was the version for the Sega CD that was completely different, where they actually did digitize a person, and I kept thinking, is that Keanu Reeves? And did they actually take him and digitize him for the game? And it had short video clips of the movie in there too, because
I had heard about that version. Yes. Yeah.
But
that's why the first Dark Forces worked for the. Well, we were just talking about Dark Forces. Worked for the format because it was a shooter. The subsequent ones with lightsabers showed the fatal limitation of first-person format. Yeah. And, definitely get over to Michael's channel also if you're at all interested in this game, Indiana Jones and the Circle of... the Great Circle of Hell or whatever it is. He kind of talks through. One of the important points is if you're playing in Dark Forces, the character you were playing was some character made up specifically for that game.
Yes.
You didn't know who he was. They wanted you to immerse yourself in being that Kyle person Katarn. Was you.
Yeah.
Kyle Katarn or whatever. Yeah.
You,
that's you. That's basically you. You are that character, right? The difference here with Indiana Jones is that's Indiana Jones. Yes, you're controlling him. You don't necessarily want to be Indiana Jones. You want to control Indiana Jones. If you have the DLC and he's wearing a particular outfit from a particular movie, you want to be able to see that. Not just in the damn cutscenes. Indiana Jones, the never-ending photography scavenger hunt. He had this line where he's talking about being beaten up by Italian fascists while I'm trying to take a random picture of a kitty cat.
Anyway, I would recommend Retrobest. Anyone else in the chat too? The Dark Forces remaster that came out last year was excellent. It's in fact would be my pick for best retro re-release from last year. Would be the Dark Forces remaster. So yeah. So time to come.
That was our intro.
What time is it now? Well, it's not too bad. I don't think this is going to be a terribly long news night, but there wasn't a big news week. But of course, there was a lot of stuff going on about, you know,
a lot of I guess a lot
DC.
of people are starting to focus on the DC Studios news and speculation.
All right, let me get to the top of the notes, but we're going to get to our first story of the night, which is unfortunately another in Remembrance. So let's move on to Linda Lavin dies. Alice star and Tony-winning Broadway actor was 87. You a fan of this actress?
I watched Alice quite regularly. The series, of course, quite regularly.
So, am I saying the name right? Lavin?
I think it's Lavin.
Lavin. Okay, Linda Lavin. Okay, you're right. I think it is. Linda Lavin, the beloved veteran stage and TV actress known for her Emmy-nominated role in the 1976 sitcom Alice and for her Tony-winning performance in the 1986 Broadway Bound, died today, December 29th. She was 87. The news comes as a shock to Lavin, as Lavin has been working recently as this month promoting her new Netflix series No Good Deed and filming the upcoming Hulu comedy series Mid-Century Modern, on which she is one of the leads. She died unexpectedly due to complications from recently discovered lung cancer, her public relations representative told Deadline. A former child
kind of amazes me. I mean, I've had family members, my grandfather specifically, passed from lung cancer. It was horrible. Yeah. It was just terrible. So for her to literally be working up till the end and then she dies surprisingly with lung cancer is not something you're surprised by when you die ordinarily.
I mean, obviously they said the smoking increases chances, but it can happen even without it, right? I mean, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Mesothelioma, exposure to all kinds of environmental factors that have nothing to do with
your personal habits. Yeah. A former child stage actor, Lavin started her Broadway career in the 1960s, appearing in the musical It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman.
Yep.
As well as the plays Little Murders and The Last of the Red Hot Lovers, which earned her the first 3 Drama Desk Awards and the first of 6 Tony Award nominations, respectively. I'm sure she
was an incredible singer. Mm-hmm. I do believe she sang the theme song for Alice on the TV show. I'm not 99% positive. Someone check me on that. I might be wrong. And she did have several opportunities to sing on the show, but it wasn't really a focus for the show. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. For the next 5 decades, Lavin juggled theater and Hollywood careers, following a memorable recurring role on the ABC sitcom Barney Miller from 1975 to 1976. Right. My father was a huge fan of Barney Miller because he was a police officer, and he said this is the most accurate show about police work ever put on TV.
That's interesting to hear. Yeah,
because he said these other shows, there's always a murder week and all this stuff. No, Barney Miller. That's where you go for if you want to see what happens. But she landed the title role as of a roadside diner waitress and widowed young mother in the 1976 comedy series Alice, based on the movie Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which ran on CBS for 9 seasons and 202 episodes. In addition to an Emmy nomination, the performance landed Lavin 2 Golden Globe Awards. I am curious about this show now because I'm very familiar with the movie. I didn't realize the series was based.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, was there a Chris Christopherson stand-in character? Was there another actor playing that part, or was he not on the show?
No,
or did he show up later?
Oh, okay. No, it was there were some theme, well, as you would expect, there were some thematic changes,
Okay. Hulu and 20th Television, the studio behind Mid-Century Modern, issued a joint statement following Lavin's passing. Our deepest and heartfelt condolences go to Linda Lavin's family and loved ones. The company said she was a legend in our industry, bringing her tremendous talent to audiences over 7 decades. She will be forever missed by her Mid-Century Modern family as we mourn this incredible loss together.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'll have to check out Alice now. I didn't realize that was based
Yeah,
on the movie.
be really surprised if it's not available somewhere on streaming out there. I used to watch it all the time.
Space Rockets. Christopher Reeve's wife died of lung cancer. She never smoked.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, there are people that don't smoke that are still at high risk. Believe it or not, if you were ever an auto mechanic, up into the 80s, you're
right.
probably at high risk if you ever did brake jobs, because why? Asbestos, right? A lot of people in construction, if they were working with asbestos, that was also a problem. And honestly, all the people that did hazmat removing asbestos are at very high risk. The specific, and the reason I know this is because I know someone who went through it. It was specifically a type of lung cancer called mesothelioma. There are many kinds of lung cancer. I don't know what kind she had. I guess most people are familiar with the carcinoma that occurs from smoking. My dad didn't die from cancer, but he had COPD from smoking.
Right.
The lungs are a bad, most every other part of your body you can heal, you can transplant, you can whatever. Lungs, there's almost nothing you can do for lungs.
Yeah. But just rest in peace. It's sad.
Absolutely.
Moving on though to our news of the night. This is I made sure we had an article about the new Nosferatu to tie into the retrospective.
Well, let's face it, we did the retrospective to tie into the
I still have not seen this. I probably should try to catch before.
Well, I haven't either, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop Big Al Presents a 10-word review for Nosferatu.
He's seen it.
He has seen it. He did a review. A minor spoiler, he liked it.
There's Big Al's review, 10-word review. Subscribe to Big Al. He's good people. And sometimes you'll even hear a Boomer on there every so often, or maybe a Pacelli. So there you go.
It might be fun to revisit this after we've both seen the film, because I have heard there have been some thematic and story differences between this version and the original. And again, they tie into religious themes.
Okay. So
the writer on this particular, the screenwriter for this one and the director were very keyed into those elements.
Well, that's interesting. That might be a change from what we've been seeing lately with the vampires. But talk about having some bite. Nosferatu drove a stake through box office expectations, delivering a hauntingly good $21.6 million over the traditional weekend and $40.8 million since debuting on Christmas Day. Those receipts sent box office analysts everywhere reaching for the vampire puns, apologies, in effort to explain the bloody fantastic results for Nosferatu. After all, Nosferatu scored one of the year's top openings from a specialty studio, joining A24's dystopian cross-country adventure Civil War at $25 million, Neon's thriller Long Legs, $22.4 million, and Cineverse's ultra gory slasher Terrifier 3, $18.9 million. It sounds like maybe keeping your budgets low might be the way.
And we've talked about this before. For the most part, horror films tend to have
lower budgets, and I'm sure this looks great,
even with the special effects that they do.
I'm sure this movie looks great too. I'm not picking on its quality. I'm just saying they probably didn't spend the nightmare things that we're seeing with other studios. But ticket sales also.
The clips that I have seen, I was very impressed by the costuming.
Yeah.
Obviously, I haven't seen it well enough to be able to get real critical about details, but from a glance, it looked very good.
I'm sure it's period accurate. But ticket sales also rank as the biggest Christmas Day launch and weekend haul for a genre film, overtaking the benchmark set in 1998 by Robert Rodriguez's high school sci-fi story The Faculty, with 4.4 million on opening day and 11.6 million over the traditional weekend. That's interesting. the faculty open on Christmas Day. I didn't know that.
Well, and by the way, you bringing up that this opened on Christmas Day, there was a lot of people questioning the idea of having Nosferatu open on Christmas rather than, say, Halloween, which they absolutely could have done. Only come to find out that those religious themes that I was talking about, one of them does tie to Christmas.
That's probably why they did it. Yeah.
So and again, I don't think I'm really spoiling anything. Since it basically goes the same way as the original film, the vanquishing of the vampire by sunlight, but specifically sunlight on Christmas morning in this particular interpretation. Yeah, and so Big Al, that tells me that Nosferatu is now a Christmas movie. Just saying.
Well, good. I'll have to be a yearly tradition then. Okay. When we dated the film for Christmas, people were like, wow, that's an easy fit. Okay. Exhibitors were taken aback. We're going to do this Gothic story on Christmas Day, says Lisa Bono. We're going to turn it into an event, and it worked tremendously. The movie itself delivers, and that is always the most important thing. Heading into the extended Yuletide frame, Nosferatu was projected to open at $25 million from 2,992 North American theaters. Box office tracking isn't an exact science, but projectionists have a better barometer of how a film might perform because patrons these days tend to buy tickets online in advance and reserve their ideal seat, be in the aisle or dead center. Oh, that's why they're doing the predictions lately.
Yeah.
Yet, in this case, Focus Features reported that 40% of the opening weekend crowds purchased their tickets the day before they saw the movie. While it's not unusual for the holiday period, a time in which many people aren't working and plans can come together at last minute, it helps explain why the well-reviewed Nosferatu nearly doubled press release expectations. There's also Robert Eggers, the film's writer, co-producer, and director, who has established a reputation for making haunting, atmospheric, richly thematic films such as 2022's The Northman, 2019's The Lighthouse. That was a weird movie, The Lighthouse. Did you see that one?
I have not yet.
It's
but also a Willem Dafoe film as well.
Yes, and he does the sea captain New England speech thing, turn of the century thing perfectly. He talks like one of these old salty sea captains from the New England area turn of the century, and I don't know how he does it. It's just the way he talks in it. I've never seen anything like it in a movie, but it's a weird flick. I'm going to tell you that. Give you forewarned. The Witch and 2015's The Witch. That defied conventions. I just thought there were scenes he could have lowered the camera a bit. But anyway, moving on. His unique style and attention to detail. Eggers is a former production designer, has left him with a passionate following that made Nosferatu an event among the cinephile set. The long-in-the-works remake of the Gothic tale about a terrifying vampire played by Bill Skarsgård who stalks a young woman, Lily Rose Depp. I believe that's Johnny Depp's daughter, right?
Yes, it is.
Has been a passion project for Eggers. He first announced plans to make the movie back in 2015. Which at one point was set to star Harry Styles as Thomas Hutter, the role that eventually went to Nicholas Hoult. Nosferatu isn't your typical horror movie. It's elevated horror movie from an auteur director and fits into the awards conversation for cinematography and costume, says Bunnell. I'm sure who Bunnell was. All of the things made it unique.
Okay, so I wasn't off base with the costumes.
I don't like this term elevated horror. It drives me nuts. But it seems people seem to like this movie. I will try to catch it if I get a chance.
Now, I do want to bring up that Rosefire did mention Critical Drinker approved of the new Nosferatu and said it's refreshing to have a villain who is pure evil and not with some tragic backstory to make him into an anti-hero. Got to agree. This is something I was saying about Dracula. When they did Bram Stoker's Dracula, because that's not who Dracula was in the actual Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes, I've read the book. Yes, it's not.
Welcome, Zetopia. I see you there. Thank you for being here. And Samuel Proctor as well. The other thing that I wanted to say about this, again, I can only repeat what I've heard because I have not actually seen the film yet. Even the clips I've seen from which I can't draw this evaluation. There are those out there kind of giving grief to Depp here, saying her acting is wooden and stilted. I question two things about that. One, if the people being critical of her don't have a bone to pick with Depp and,
probably
going back to the divorce and all that kind of stuff. But the other question I would have is how much of that is a directorial styling intended,
or just how ladies conducted themselves in the Victorian era. That could be
true. There's that element. There's also the element of paying homage to its silent film origins. Although, if that is the case and that was the intent and it's not getting across, I would argue, well, maybe the director had an intent and didn't execute it well enough.
Yes, but yeah. So, what year is Nosferatu set? Darth Plato asks. I want to say around the same time as Dracula, probably 1800s, late 1800s. But I don't know.
I don't know specifically about this interpretation of it. I'm assuming they're being as accurate as the original.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. 1838. A fictional German town of Wiesborg.
You're in the chat, Darkwoods. Okay. Okay. Leesborg. Okay. But anyway, we were planning to do something for Nosferatu because we knew it was a big thing. We were just waiting for the opportunity. We've had a lot to talk about the past few weeks, especially with all the DC news and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks good. I will have to check it out at some point. There are a lot of movies I want to check out, actually. That Hugh Grant movie, The Heretic, looked interesting. I was curious about it.
Oh, yeah, that looked creepy.
I can't tell. I mean, I can't tell if it's good or not, but it looked interesting from the trailer.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to move on to outgoing Sony CEO.
I have zero respect for people that make so tone deaf a comment as this. Look, you can defend a crap movie all you want, but the numbers don't lie. And everyone in the business world looks at you and laughs.
As he prepares to depart from Sony Pictures, CEO Tony Vinciquerra seemed to have few, if any, regrets about his 7-year run as a studio head. That includes this year's pair of Spider-Man spin-off bombs, Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter. Early in 2024, Madam Web became one of the worst reviewed films of the year and grossed us just $100 million worldwide against a reported $80 million budget. Kraven the Hunter, the last Sony release under Vinciquerra's leadership, is doing even worse at the box office, having grossed just $43.8 million worldwide and counting after 12 days in theaters. Despite the poor reception from critics and audience, Vinciquerra stood by those films in an excellent interview with the Los Angeles Times. I still don't understand because the film is not a bad film, Vinciquerra said. Madam Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film, and it did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed them.
Let me interrupt here. This is the one thing I've got to say about these overpaid CEOs. These people who should know what they don't know. Okay, I don't expect Tony Vinciquerra to know anything about comic books, comic book movies, these characters. Hell, I don't even really expect him to know anything about movies and storytelling. But I do expect him to understand business and business management. And when something fails, okay, you need to stop in your tracks and back up and take a look at it and say, why? Why did this fail? And you don't get to blame, it's the people that didn't like it. It's the audiences. It's the critics. Oh, those critics. Well, why did the critics pan this movie, but they liked some other movie that may or may not have been as good? They may have even liked a movie that sucked from another studio. Why was that? It's a political game, or there's some payoff going on that you didn't manage. It's your job to make sure a movie does well, that it has the good press, that it gets the good reviews, and the audience wants to go see it and they're happy. You blew it. And now you sound like a fool trying to defend yourself.
Now, let me read this other comment. He says, they also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics and press for some reason. Okay, I need to explain. This is what happens. This has nothing to do with the critics or the press. Why does Venom do well and these other movies didn't? People know who Venom is, even beyond being a Spider-Man villain. Venom used to have his own comic book line where he was an anti-hero for a period. Plus, he's known from the Spider-Man movies and other media. I think the average audience member doesn't know who Kraven the Hunter is. They know who Spider-Man is, and if they put Kraven the Hunter in a Spider-Man movie as the villain,
so many comic book fans have been saying it makes zero sense to try telling these stories without being set up in Spider-Man. All the way back to when they wanted to do the Sinister Seven, and they wanted to do it without Spider-Man. That makes no sense.
They were going to
set up the Sinister Seven, you need to do 7 Spider-Man movies, each one introducing a new villain.
Anyway, but they were going to do, I know they were trying to do that steadily. Like they actually had the, at the end of Morbius, I think it was Morbius, I think they had Vulture from the MCU pop over into the Venomverse,
right?
For reasons, I guess, because they
were trying to set up
a residual from No Way Home that they didn't explain. That actually
they were trying to do the same thing they did with the setup for Avengers. Hey, let me tell you about the Avengers initiative and blah blah blah. Hey, how would you like to join the Sinister Six or the Sinister Seven or whatever it is?
Yeah, Kraven's been in a couple of video games besides the Insomniac game, but I think people know him in reference to Spider-Man. And the trouble is, I think even this Kraven trailer, if you had seen this Kraven trailer and you had a passing knowledge of Spider-Man stuff, you wouldn't necessarily even have associated this movie with Spider-Man.
Nope.
It's this guy in Africa, he's a hunter, and I guess he's Kraven. Would you even have known this was a Spider-Man character? And I guess he fights the Rhino in it.
Yeah.
Which is another Spider-Man villain.
And all of it was just ill-conceived. And again, I'm not saying that Tony here needs to know these elements. All he needs to know is it was rejected by the fans of this medium. He needs to go back to the writers. Yeah, it's 6. Okay. You need to be fair,
Doc Ock wanted it to be a Sinister 7. Remember on Spectacular Spider-Man, he said, "Oh well, so much for the Sinister 7. It'll have to be Sinister 6." Remember?
That's probably what I'm thinking of. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
And you go back to the writers and the directors and you say, "Look, I don't know why the fans didn't like it, but they didn't. You get it figured out, or you're fired."
So he's leaving. He did do some good things in his tenure. He was the one that insisted that Sony was not going to do their own streaming service. So that was smart. I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. I just don't think they understand that the people want to see superhero movies about, heroes doing heroic things.
And we were talking about this last week, Darth Plato. I think those days are done. Anybody who's still pulling that crap is way behind the culture curve. People have moved on from that. It's very clear they're being rejected. Most of Hollywood is pivoting to the logical center again because they want to be profitable again. So anybody who's still making comments like this is even farther behind the curve.
Does Kraven ever encounter Deadpool in the comics? And if so, what happens? I don't know.
Oh, gosh. It's entirely possible that it might have happened in a one-off or something. I don't know.
Kraven, he could work on his own, but I don't really see Sony pulling off. It might have worked on his own if they had introduced him in a couple of Spider-Man movies first.
And speaking of, the whole culture war thing, if they understood the character, they could have turned him into an eco-terrorist. That would have been interesting,
Yeah.
He could have had a "how dare you" moment.
So in a way, he's like the Marvel version of Poison Ivy. Then, they kind of
that might be putting too fine a point on it, but yeah, they probably have similar.
Batman the Animated Series, they kind of made Poison Ivy into an eco-terrorist that was angry about people.
Oh yeah, and they've done that in the comics too. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ever since her origin in that horrible Batman with
and Robin
Iceman,
movie.
yeah, whatever.
Oh, that's so bad.
Where they throw in Floronic Man and a cheap knockoff of Bane.
You kept saying Bane.
Yeah, exactly. They way underused Floronic Man. That could have been a great character. But anyway,
I think someone online redubbed Bane's lines in Batman and Robin with the Bane lines from Dark Knight Rises.
Oh my gosh. I'll have to look for that. I'll bet that's pretty funny.
Yes, but it's just I don't get it though. But here's the thing, I'm getting really tired about seeing movies about villains. I want to see movies about the hero fighting the villains, and especially in this weird universe where there's no Spider-Man, but there are all these Spider-Man villains, which doesn't make any sense.
Exactly right.
All right.
But here's a little good news. For at least for the cinema-minded individuals. Okay. I think this is a clever little what do you call it? Going out for business kind of thing.
So they're going out of business?
Going out for business.
Trying to
get people to come in the door and watch movies. The so-called popcorn films.
Yes. So Cinemark to offer a $5 bring your own bucket for National Popcorn Day in January. Do you like it? My picture, I have an actual bucket here.
I do. That's
I made that with the AI thing.
Oh, no kidding. Yes, okay. There are some things that AI does very, very well.
And you can come up with a quick image. Because I kept making I don't want regular buckets. I want a bucket. Okay?
Right, exactly. It's like funny because we literally just yesterday had to go to Menards, and we were picking up some hardware and whatnot, and I saw cheap buckets, and I was like, I could bring one of those to the theater with me this month, but nah.
Are there Cinemarks in your area?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, you might want to think about that. Cinemark, one of the largest and most influential theatrical exhibition companies in the world, is celebrating National Popcorn Day on Sunday, January 19th, with a $5 bring your own bucket deal, according to a release. This is the first for the theater, which hopes to encourage all to get creative with their bucket choices. National Popcorn Day is one of the best days of the year at Cinemark, and for popcorn lovers,
2 weeks from today, by the way, folks.
We are thrilled to make this year's celebration with our first ever Bring Your Own Bucket event, in addition to limited time sweepstakes and promotions, said David Haywood, Cinemark SVP Food and Beverage. Popcorn has always been the star of the movie theater concessions, though popcorn vessels have become an award-worthy supporting actor. We are excited for everyone to get creative with this campaign and show off their choice of container while enjoying the iconic snack alongside a great film. Individuals don't have to see a movie to enjoy this deal. Everyone is invited to participate. No movie ticket is required. As long as the container is clean, does not exceed 400 ounces. Maybe my bucket there would not be good. Cinemark will fill it to the brim with crisp, freshly popped kernels. Even those with from-home container can get in on the fun with $5 extra large popcorn at all Cinemark locations on National Popcorn Day. So even if you don't have a bucket with you, can get an extra large for $5. So,
okay, there you go.
Whether it's an iconic film specific collectible bucket, the favorite snack bowl that has been passed down from generation to generation, or a creative do-it-yourself art project, Cinemark invites all popcorn lovers to bring the containers to their local theater to receive a $5 fill-up of warm, binge-worthy popcorn only on Sunday, January 19th. So everyone's invited to participate. And of course, they have 3 locations in Northeast Florida, which is nowhere near.
And I know that there's in the past couple years, there's been plenty of promotional containers that people could bring. Maybe you got yourself a Slimer bucket, or you got a
Showgirls bucket from
or maybe you've got the one from Dune that looks like, a personal fun device. Just saying.
Oh my goodness! No, I was making the joke because someone said make sure that everyone keeps the containers G-rated.
Oh yeah, good point.
They did some alien buckets for the last Alien movie, which of course they sold out like crazy.
I got I actually got 3 of the Ghostbusters popcorn buckets. I got the one that's shaped like a ghost trap. I've got the one that's shaped like the Ecto-1, which is actually in scale with the action figures, if you care about that kind of thing, and it's electronic. And I got the one that's shaped like Slimer, but it was incredibly disappointing. There was a bit of a scandal over it, and that was from AMC Theaters. They were actually doing returns on it because it was so bad. It did not look like the promotional picture
that happens. I wish it would stop happening.
It wasn't even close. It was not even close. It was like you order something from Temu or Wish.com or whichever one that is that you get the goofy Wish.com. Yeah.
This was like a disaster. I think it was with one of the Fallout games where there was like a pre-order bonus to get like the collector's edition, which came with a big burlap sack Fallout special edition bag, and it was some vinyl piece of junk they sent you. And people were like, that is not what I paid the money for to get this collector's edition. There was a big scandal around that. And it's funny because I did the Persona 5. They did a thing which came with a satchel, and that was actually a very nice satchel that I got with that game.
But for all the belly aching I'm doing about the Ghostbusters promotions, that's not what this is about. This is about $5 popcorn. Bring your own bucket. Sounds like a lot of fun. It's a great little promotion, in my opinion, and I hope that it pays off for this theater chain because I know that the cinemas are still hurting and still clawing their way back after 4 years ago. The things that happened that. Some states are claiming they want to try again because it worked so well the first time around.
Nope, I'm not. I'm done. Don't even try it.
Will not comply.
Will not comply. And to be fair, I live in a state where
you're not going to have that kind of problem. Exactly.
But what was I going to say though? And there are actually apparently they were mentioning movies, and apparently Nosferatu is in theaters, and so is the new Wolfman is coming out. So maybe you'll get to do a double feature of Nosferatu and the Wolfman if you were so inclined. If the new Wolfman's any good, I don't know yet, but
yeah, we'll see. We will see.
I mean, there's no reason it has to be bad because it's
no.
Yeah, I mean, but we'll see.
But we were talking about Nosferatu being in the public domain because it's past New Year's. There's a lot of things that have fallen into public domain.
Certain Mickey Mouse cartoons? Are you kidding me? How can this be possible? Disney, they're going to make a horror movie off of this now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right? It's going to be a sequel to the Steamboat Willie horror film,
Is the Steamboat Willie horror movie elevated horror? I'm just asking. Okay. The 1st of January ushers in a new year, a new month, and new entries to the lists of works in public domain. While 2024 saw many popular intellectual properties lose copyright protection, notably the first iteration of Mickey Mouse, 2025 is not without its fair share of noteworthy additions. As of January 1st, 2025, several iconic books and characters are now freely available for public use, from Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms to the original Popeye. Works from 1921 and sound recordings from 1924 are now open to all in the U.S. This means all books, films, songs, and art published throughout the Roaring '20s are without copyright protection, making 2025 a significant year for the public domain. Here are the most notable works that are now free to use: A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie, the first English version of All Quiet on the Western Front. This must have been the first translation by Eric Maria Remarque, translated by Arthur Wesley Ween. Rope by Patrick Hamilton. The Carnival Kid, Mickey Mouse's first talking appearance, and the debut of his signature white gloves, along with 11 other Mickey Mouse shorts. The Coconuts, the Marx Brothers' first feature film, directed by Robert Florey and Joseph Santley. I didn't realize it.
Great film. Yeah.
It's silent, huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check it
The
out.
Skeleton Dance, Disney's first silly symphony short, directed by Walt Disney and animated by Eworks. I guess I'm saying that right.
That one was one that a lot of fans have been eagerly waiting to fall into.
It's a great short.
Because it is a classic from Halloween that a lot of people have loved. And boy, you can't do anything on YouTube with it. Well, before this year you could,
and now you can. And another one I love, I don't know if this is public domain, but there's the one black and white one with Mickey Mouse in the haunted house, which I thought was another great one.
That one is not yet.
It will be at some point though, but
it will probably in the next decade or two. But based on where they're at on the Mickey releases, that one is not yet.
Blackmail, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, his first sound film. Okay, so I guess they were having sound films at this point. Hallelujah, directed by King Vidor, considered to be one of the first major studio films to feature an all-black cast. The character of Popeye by E.C. Seeger, as he appeared in the Thimble Theater comic strip Gobs of Work. The character of Tintin by Hergé, as he appeared in Le Petit magazine comic strip Les Adventures de Tintin. Singing in the Rain, music by Nasio Herb Brown, lyrics by Arthur Freed. The musical, I guess, right?
Well, not the Gene Kelly film, but the original
music
song
that was used.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
An American in Paris. This was the original composition by George Gershwin. Is now public domain. It's interesting. I had someone. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I had someone in the place I work, and they were looking for. He was. I guess he was originally from Cuba, and he's looking. I need an American example. I need an example of American classical music. And I'm like, well, what is American classical music? Like, what have we done, the Americans? I thought Gershwin. Boom.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, this is what a lot of people don't realize. There have been a lot of great, especially film adaptations of musicals that, are available on DVD now and so forth, works by, Gene Kelly and so forth. But those are not the original versions. It's the original versions that are falling into public domain. Probably before they were filmed, probably the stage plays and the compositions. So if you've got Gene Kelly's vocals, that's not public domain. Yeah.
Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Music by Joseph Burke, lyrics by Alfred Dublin.
Not the version done by Tiny Tim, but the original music.
That means the Maltese Falcon is now public domain, correct?
May very well be.
1920s. I mean, I could be wrong. This could be a year of independence, being able to make their own adaptations of these great works.
The thing about music, about these compositions falling into the public domain, is it means that if you have the ability, the musical talent to do a musical composure of your own, right? You can't just use somebody else's version of the song. But if you can do it on piano or guitar or whatever, you can make your own karaoke and perform that song on YouTube, legally speaking, because the music itself, well, it depends if the lyrics are also public domain. You got to check on that as well. But yeah, there you go.
If your movie is, Matt Inouye has a comment. Maybe he's referring back to what I was saying about
real quick. Let me. We just got a $2 super chat from Geek Flag to tell Netter to feel better. Yeah, she is not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Netter.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Geek Flag.
Matt Inouye, is being put on in January or February. They are pushing it out the door to die now. There are a lot of reasons why they might do that, but I'll tell you this, that has not prevented some movies that are well received and well anticipated by its fans from doing well. Sometimes films are put out with the intent that they fail, and they don't. So,
Red Letter Media,
something out yet.
Red Letter Media used to say they were when they would do a January video, they would do "F you, it's January." That was like that was the studio's point of view. They were going to put out a good movie in January. I don't know. I mean,
the other possibility too is you put it out in the theaters, you make what money you can, and maybe it does really, really well on streaming and home video later. The concept of the cult following has been paying off as long as you're cashing in on it through things like licensing and home video. If not, well, you're just leaving money on the table.
So theoretically, I could take all these famous songs like Tiptoe by the Tulips, find an AI program to sing it for me, and then put out an album, make a buttload of money, right?
Yeah, actually you could. Yeah, that you legally could, because the music is public domain. Again, assuming that the lyrics are public domain, and an AI legally can't have any kind of rights itself. So you absolutely could do whatever you wanted in that regard with it.
I have a mosquito bite on my palm. I don't know how that happened.
Says the guy in Florida who actually has mosquitoes in the middle of winter.
Here's the thing about Florida. Okay, Florida is buggy. There's a trade-off for the warm weather all the time.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah.
bugs.
Because you got a lot of it's damp. So you have the swampy, as opposed to like say Arizona and New Mexico.
Don't leave
the hot weather and it's dry.
Don't leave pails of water by your house. Just empty those out. You don't want the mosquitoes breeding.
Oh yeah.
Time for I'm just using this for both of the articles. Of course, I'm only going to read from the one anyway, though, because it's basically the same thing. But I figured angry Nicholas Hoult Luthor, we'll put him on here instead of the Superman pick. But yeah, I guess I could have just done the still of the article, but oh well, because I only ended up going with one because they were saying the same thing. But
that's fine.
Rumor Superman buzz is not good from people who have seen the film. So that's from Fandom Polls.
I hardly feel like this is a rumor. This is we know from firsthand experience, right?
So, I mean, to be fair though, it is a screener, right?
True.
And screeners aren't always good. Sometimes they can fix things, but a new rumor alleges that the buzz from people who've seen James Gunn's Superman film is quote unquote not good. The rumor comes from Jeff Schneider during a recent appearance on the Hot Mic show. Schneider detailed that he had dinner with an insider who knew a number of people who had seen the Superman film and informed him the buzz was not good. Snyder shared, "The buzz was not good. It's not me trying to take the movie down. Maybe I misphrased the visual effects thing. I'm hearing bad things. I'm hearing you should be worried things." Now, a lot of time between now and July. Now, there's a lot of time between now and July 11th. Not that much time. A lot of things can happen. Sounds like James Gunn is aware of some of the feedback. Sounds like the Hollywood Reporter is aware of some of the feedback, and they're just keeping that amazing buzz the studio would love to have out there in the Fortress of Solitude, he added. Read between the lines, people.
Well, I'm going to say, too, I think this goes hand in hand with a lot of the things that we've been not only hearing, but saying ourselves about the trailer and our concerns. And if we're expressing those concerns online and then people see the early cuts of the film,
yes,
and corroborate those concerns, that's going to be a serious problem for them. Now, last week, I think it was last week, we were talking about this, and I speculated, look, there's nothing that says that they couldn't take the feedback that they got and then just trim out some of the scenes of, like Guy Gardner and all the extraneous characters. Because that was a big thing that a lot of us were saying. We don't want a movie about Superman called Superman to be half about some other superhero team.
I've heard so many rumors about this, that this wasn't Gunn's idea to put them in this, but I know that Gunn likes to work with these ensemble groups.
I have a very hard time believing that wasn't Gunn's idea, because let's face it, the characters he's put in are specifically there setting up his next streaming project.
Oh, no. I'll have more to say on that next week after the final episode of Creature Commandos airs, which I have been watching. I'm going to save my thoughts for that until next week. For context, though, back in December 6th, the Hollywood Reporter's Heat Vision newsletter reported it's busy time for Gunn, who recently wrapped up Peacemaker Season 2 and has been screening Superman in its unfinished, still deep in post form. The outlet added, "We've heard from multiple sources about one screening in particular on the lot with his close-knit crew of people he trusts. We're keeping the buzz about the movie itself in our own Fortress of Solitude." Okay, but we can tell you that the movie will be doing a few days of additional shooting in Los Angeles in the near term. They got to do new scenes then. Okay. Snyder reacted to this on stream and mocked, "That's exactly that's what the studio would want you to do if it was great buzz." Snyder's co-host John Roca later added that a source informed him, "Someone who's seen Superman told me that it's the tone of the first Captain America movie and the Mummy films, They said Nicholas Hoult is the standout, and the film was decent, but a large chunk of the film was unfinished, and only a third of the film's visual effects being done. So, again, it's an early cut. The tone of the first Captain America and the Mummy films. Do you think those two share the same tone?
They shouldn't.
I mean, I guess they're referring to the Brendan Fraser ones because they're mentioning films, not the.
Oh, okay, okay, I see what you're saying.
Not the Tom Cruise one. I don't think that's the one that it matches in tone. I hope not. He added the least amount of humor of any Gunn film, but there's still humor throughout the film. Well, why does it have? Oh man, there's still humor throughout the film. The person he spoke to said they think that most people will be satisfied with the movie and it should be received well enough to continue Gunn's DCU. What does that mean, though? Most people will be satisfied with the movie. It doesn't offend me. It's okay. I mean, that's not me screaming.
And that is not actually good enough for where Warner Brothers needs it to be. Let me just say.
Yeah. So again, still early, but yeah. There's been other. I don't know. So,
I'll say something else too that I haven't mentioned before. They're so eager to introduce these new characters. Guy Gardner should be introduced in a Green Lantern project. There should have been a Green Lantern Corps film or something that introduced him before he's showing up in a Superman movie.
Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing. On Superman the Animated Series, also on Smallville, you would have other characters show up in an episode. And that's fine. But I think when you're starting out, you really need to be focusing just on Superman. And I don't know why it's multiple heroes showing up in this thing. And
well, what's interesting about Smallville was either they were showing up because their origin was tied to Superman in some way, or like with Green Lantern, or excuse me,
Green Arrow
and Arthur Curry, they're establishing the larger world and having them, kind of, meet up before they start forming some sort of a team, which is fine.
My suspicion with Green Arrow was they couldn't use Batman, so they needed a substitute.
That's exactly it, and that's why they changed him so much and made him into a Batman when he wasn't really Batman.
Yes.
They did the same thing with Arrow. It was, another reason why I didn't bother watching it. In fact, most people don't even realize this, but there was a major Easter egg in the first episode of Smallville that introduces Diana of Themyscira.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it shows Lionel Luthor and a young Lex in a helicopter going somewhere. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm confusing two things. The scene I'm describing, the newspaper Lionel is reading, talks about the death of Oliver's parents. And this was in the first episode. And of course, we meet him as a major character later on. No, there was an episode in a hospital. I can't remember exactly what the storyline was. And someone was going around with reading material for the patients. And the cover of the newspaper was talking about Ambassador from Themyscira visits Washington, D.C., which was clearly a Wonder Woman reference.
Yeah. Well, it would have been nice if they could have had Wonder Woman on the actual show. Of course, they were doing so much with her at the time. Oh wait, they weren't.
Erica Durance dressed up as her for Halloween.
I remember that. Erica Durance. Oh, she was.
She was rocking the lowest. That's for sure.
Geek Flag does not trust John Roca. He thinks he's an unreliable source. He may be. I mean, like I said, this is rumor. But this is just what's the
well, the only reason we even bother to voice a rumor is because it really does. It's not just that source. There are other sources, and it really does. It is corroborated by the things we have seen and said ourselves. So I am not surprised at all. And let's face it, just like Aged Boomer's fortunes that are absolutely true because that's kind of the way reality works. You better believe that Warner Brothers is kind of shaking in their boots behind the scenes, regardless of what feedback they're getting, because it really does have to do really, really well.
I'm hearing Adria Arjona might be the next Wonder Woman video. I think the Latino Slant was talking about that. I just don't know, like Paul, but I don't know who that is exactly. Maybe she's been in other things. But
wow, yeah, she could definitely be Wonder Woman, although brown-eyed Wonder Woman's kind of supposed to be blue.
Contact lenses.
Well, if they bother to do that these days,
Or
they kind of don't care. Heck, they, you know, not casting her with, an actress of African descent is actually a surprise, at this point.
Wasn't there a Wonder Woman in the comics where they did that? It was some other thing. Were we talking
a character
about
named Nubia? She was from an offshoot of the Amazons that
they were in Africa instead.
They were in Africa,
okay.
yeah.
Well, maybe they'll have her pop up in the Superman movie too to crowd it some more.
Honestly, if you're going to do Wonder Woman stories, introducing Nubia would be actually, and see, this is again what we're always saying. You want to bring in diverse characters. They exist in the comics. Tell those stories. We want to see them. Yeah. I want to see in this Superman movie, I would love to see them introduce John Henry Irons, and then have him become Steel in a future film, and then get his own spin-off film.
They did a great job. I don't know. I probably mentioned this before, where they introduced him on Superman the animated series, where I think he was the big engineer behind the suit, and then someone steals it and does a lot of damage. And I think Superman is able to subdue him. And John Henry Irons says it was a horrible idea, me making this thing. And the Superman says, no, it wasn't. In the right hands, this could be a force for good. You should still continue on with this project. That's what he told him before he even becomes Steel. He says, yeah.
That's what I loved about those animated series, and even the animated features. They had a great way of taking and condensing the source material. They were true to those stories, distilled them down to the best parts of the narrative, and then just told those stories. Gee, what a concept!
Yes. This is the other big news this week. Any Batman fans in the chat?
We've had our say about this back when it was first announced, and now it looks like,
there's some retooling going on, perhaps. I don't know. Let's me read from this. Between the release.
Wait a minute. I do want to mention this. Nubians are from the Middle Nile region. Yeah, and Amazonians are from what? The Amazon in South America? What are they doing on a Greek island? Let's not dig too deep into that stuff, Dark Plato.
This is where that comes from. If you know why the Amazon River was named, I think, I forget now. Never mind. I think it was the discoverers thought it was similar. I think they heard stories that were similar to the Amazonian women, so they named it the Amazon. That there was another similar story in that region. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Anyway, let's move. I don't know why I opened up my mouth. Okay, the Flash director, Andy Muschietti, reveals the Brave and the Bold movie has been postponed. So here we go. Between the release of Creature Commandos, the animated series that's winding down on Max with 2 episodes remaining at the time of writing, and the record-breaking premiere of the first Superman trailer, James Gunn's DCU is off to a hot start. Unfortunately, updates on one of the first projects Gunn announced, Batman the Brave and the Bold, have been relatively quiet, with most coming directly from Gunn, saying that the script was still being ironed out. It was announced last year that The Flash and It director Andy Muschietti would helm the film, and during a recent interview with California Secreta podcast, he was asked about the film's development and if he could give any sort of timeline for it. His answer was disappointing for those looking forward to the movie. I'm now writing a science fiction movie that I would like to do. Batman is a project that's been postponed a bit, so there could be another film before it, possibly that one. One of the biggest points from James Gunn when he took over at DC Studios and before his work on MCU's Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy was that he would not move a project into development stage until he had a script that he was happy with. Whether that took 3 months or 3 years, it's been reported by Nexus Points News that Muschietti is also writing the screenplay for The Brave and the Bold, along with alien Romulus scribe Rodo Sayegas, and appears the duo is having a bit of trouble getting the script at a stage where Gunn is happy to move things forward. Casting for the film has not even begun yet, and if Muschietti plans on doing another movie for Brave and the Bold, it may be well close to 2030 before Batman makes a DC Universe debut.
Personally, I think it's probably for the best. I think that Batman really needs a freaking rest. And I can tell you something else. This makes it far less likely that Sparkly Bats is maintained in this new canon.
Well, he that was never supposed to be part of this. No, that's not what happened. The Batman 2 will never see the light of day because Gunn has nothing to do with The Brave and the Bold. He will have no new right direction. Well, here's the thing. I think this is what I understand. The Batman Part 2 and The Brave and the Bold are separate projects. Brave and the Bold was supposed to be part of the new DCU that this new Superman movie is going to be in. And it was going to be a separate continuity in a separate universe, whereas the Batman movies, he said, were going to be Elseworlds, which he said in that pitch he was doing a year ago. Remember that? Mm-hmm. How many Batman movies are we going to get before we get what?
Yeah. So as long as we're getting into spoilers, I'm going to throw out one that I heard. And I'll explain why I think it's got some teeth. So apparently, the fan casting for the Gunn-verse Batman is this guy Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher.
The Reacher actor.
No. And I've never seen the show, but from everything I've heard, they're basically saying Reacher is basically Batman without being Batman. He's, a character very like that. And a lot of fans are pushing for that. And the reason I think that's entirely possible is because, and although we don't have a news article about it, plenty of people have been talking about it this week. Apparently, the fan casting that we've been talking about for years now of Jason Momoa playing Lobo has apparently been confirmed by representatives over at Warner Brothers. If they are inclined to listen to fans and their fan castings, then I don't see any reason why this Reacher guy couldn't be our Batman going forward.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's not exactly a spring chicken at this point. I mean, he's but anyway, how many Batman movies are we going to get before we get a Martian Manhunter movie? Listen, they'll probably have Martian Manhunter, and Batman has to kill him in the Batman movie. He'll be the enemy.
Oh, jeez.
I'm kidding. I guess because that's what Batman does. Okay, I'm being annoying. Okay, let's move on to the new Batman, the other Batman news this week.
Oh yeah.
The Batman Part 2. At this point, I say just cancel the Batman Part 2. It's obvious it's not going to come out. Well, here's the problem.
Is this the 5-year gap one?
This is the 5-year gap one, yes. This is the problem. People have made a point that the Penguin came out, and the Penguin was a big hit on HBO. Mm-hmm. And so now there's all this buzz around this Batman sequel because of the Penguin show, because Colin Farrell does a wonderful job as the Penguin. I would argue it's like a Heath Ledger equivalent performance. It's that good. It's a great prosthetic makeup job. But anyway, James Gunn, the co-chief at DC Studios, is defending the delay of the Batman sequel to 2027. Warner Brothers announced on Friday that the release date for Matt Reeves' follow-up to 2022's Batman would be pushed to October 1st, 2027, which led some fans to share their disappointment on social media, but Gunn attempted to calm their worries, noting that large gaps between movies are fairly common. Not 5-year gaps!
Yeah.
To be fair, a 5-year gap is fairly common in sequels, Gunn wrote on Tread. 7 years between Alien and Aliens. Okay, that's completely different because no one was ever expecting a sequel to Alien anyway. You weren't setting up a series when you made Alien. That was a surprise. 14 years between Incredibles. Those are cartoons. 7 years between the first two Terminators. Again, this is 13 years between Avatars. Well, the Avatars.
Wait a minute, back up. The first one involved suspended animation of the main character. The second one, as you point out, is animation, so it doesn't matter. The third one involves time travel, for F's sake.
Okay, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Guns. Oh, come on. And of course, 6 years between Guardians Volume 2 and 3. The Guardians of the Galaxy were featured in other Marvel movies in between those movies.
That's the key. We're talking about characters that really had other movies between the movie and its sequels.
So the Batman sequel is expected to go into production. Keep in mind that the original Batman release was horribly postponed.
Yeah.
2022, it was late. I don't from its original development. So the Batman sequel is expected to go into production in the third quarter of 2025 as Reeves is still working on the script. What has Reeves been doing for the past couple years? This is 2022. Is there a plan going with this? I thought this was supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah, this is whatever his plan is. It's kind of falling apart,
I think. You know, while the film is not part of the DC universe being built by Gunn and his DC partner Peter Safran, the duo is helping to oversee the project. Matt is committed to make the best film he possibly can, and no one can accurately guess how long the script is going to take, the Superman director shared on Friday. Once there is a finished script, there is around 2 years for pre-production, shooting, and post-production on big films. See, you know what drives me crazy about this? They rushed poor Peter Jackson with those Hobbit movies.
Right.
And yet this is being postponed till whatever, until the guy gets the script ready. Meanwhile, you're trying to plan another Batman movie in another universe. These should be knocked out and put out in theaters so they can forget about them and move on.
No, I think you might be thinking about it all wrong. When they postpone something, that tells me they're dragging their feet. So as soon as you start seeing something like this, especially when you know this isn't part of everything else they got going on, blah, 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 this and that, you have to start wondering, is this movie ever going to happen at all?
The Batman Part 2 will not see the light of day. The only reason it did, because it was already in the can before Gunn took over. He's going to cast as Batman, and that will eventually kill Batman 2. Perhaps. Maybe that's the plan. This is just, we love the Batman. We look, because they don't want to hurt the Penguin numbers, but
right.
And maybe they'll just have Colin Farrell show up as the Penguin in this other Batman thing, because we keep the actors we want and get rid of the ones we don't. I'm sorry,
Wouldn't that be a great way to do it? You guys all love this Penguin so much. Guess what? He's been in the new Batman universe all along. Ba ba ba.
But no Heath Ledger Joker, because he's passed on, and of course no Jared Leto Joker, because nobody liked his Joker. And then there was the Joaquin Phoenix one, which bombed. This is they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
You know who again, this is fan casting, but you know who the fan casting for Joker is?
Who?
That kid that played Pennywise in the remake of
Skarsgård. This one of the Skarsgård family. Yeah, he said he was interested. He said he would do it if they offered it to him. I think he was interviewed recently. He said, "Yeah, if they offered it to me, I'd be willing to take it on." Yeah, but
and look, I'm gonna say this: Heath Ledger did a great job. Anyone could play that Joker. Anyone who's got a reasonable amount of talent. Seriously.
Pattinson's going to be in his 40s by the time this thing comes out, if it even does.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous. This is
it's true.
I don't understand.
But let's put Batman aside and talk more about more films about villains. Isn't that what we all want? More films about villains?
This makes zero sense. This picture is the Clayface from the animated series Gods and Monsters, because Clayface has been featured on the show. Spoiler, if any of you were watching, we're going to watch the show. Clayface makes an appearance. And of course, Gunn says it's all canon, anything going forward. So this Clayface will be in.
As I always tell people, this stuff is canon until they decide it's not canon. So never take it with more than
it's canon, it's not canon, and this works and that works, whatever sticks at the wall, and eventually I lose interest in what you're doing. That's basically what I'm thinking here.
Exactly.
Okay, so Clayface movie is officially underway at DC Studios with Mike Flanagan writing. Fresh off the success of the HBO series The Penguin, DC Studios has officially greenlit a feature film centered around Clayface, the shape-shifting Batman villain, from a script written by Dr. Sleep filmmaker Mike Flanagan. According to a source with direct knowledge, the production plot details are scarce, but filming is expected to begin early next year. Matt Reeves and Lynn Harris will produce through their company's Sixth and Idaho Productions. Well, again, whatever you say about the HBO series The Penguin, it's already in an established Batman universe, and it's taking place after the Batman movie that came out. This Clayface is showing up before we've seen a Batman in this universe. So does his origin even is Batman even a feature in his origin? Because we don't have a cast Batman yet, but you're going to make a Clayface movie.
Exactly.
And I'm getting echoes of what they were doing over at Sony now.
Yeah. Because it worked out so well for Sony that they are considering selling off or giving up on the franchise.
So, update 12/13/24. Warner Brothers has dated the film for September 11th, 2026. So this will come out before any more Batman, before any new Batman movies come out. We're getting Clayface.
Right.
Flanagan, who first pitched DC Studios on a Clayface project in 2023, tweeted in 2021 that he was really keen to do a standalone Clayface movie as a horror thriller tragedy, but he's already committed to write and direct a new take on The Exorcist for Universal through Blumhouse. Well, wait a minute. Is Flanagan doing this or not? Okay, so through Blumhouse and Morgan Street, and he's in developing a series adaptation of Stephen King's novel Carrie for Amazon MGM Studios. So DC has been on the hunt for a director, so he's not doing this anymore. Because Flanagan, I heard, did a good job on that Dr. Sleep movie. A representative for DC Studios has no comment. So I don't know if this is more... do you like the idea of a Clayface movie?
Not really. I do feel like you can take the ideas that they have for a Clayface movie and make them within the span of a Batman film. I would look at, for example, what they did with Dr. What is it, Dr. Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from that Batman, the icy guy.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze, right. I keep wanting to call him Doctor because he's, actually a doctor.
He's Dr. Freeze before he becomes Mr. Freeze. Don't think about it.
I know. It's so backwards. Anyway, the way they did his origin story within, of course that was done as a flashback type thing. It was all, a priori, but you could do the same thing. You could do an origin story within a Batman movie and make it that kind of a tragedy, heck, just go and watch the animated series. Watch the animated series, see how they did it, make a movie like
which Clayface is this going to be? Is it going to be Basil Carlo or Matt
I guarantee you, if it's not an amalgamation, it's going to be whichever one is the one that can barely hold his form together.
Because he's gone on record saying, you could have a family fare or R-rated horror fare in the DC universe, which this isn't making any sense to me.
No, it's not.
I don't know how you could do an R-rated horror movie about Clayface in meantime doing a PG Superman movie, and they all take place in the same universe. I don't think that's going to gel, but maybe I'm mistaken. What do I know? Huh? Enough of these comic superheroes.
Okay. I can see a scenario where they do an R-rated horror film to set up the origin for this despicably evil, murderous character, right? And then in a Batman movie, bring him in as the villain that needs to be brought to justice.
There's another problem with this version of Clayface. I don't mean to do a spoiler, but on what I've seen of him in Gods and Monsters already, he's kind of goofy. He's playing a video game right now.
Yeah.
He was pretending to be a lecturer, and he's talking to his female students about Themyscira. What's the most interesting thing about the Themyscirians, the legend or whatever? And he says, "Oh, I don't know. They're great art. The architecture says no, the lesbians." And it's like, but he's being pretend to be a female professor saying this, and I don't quite get it. Are they going the comedic route with Clayface, or is this supposed to be a horror character?
Well,
tragic horror.
Okay.
Character?
In fairness, you're going to have a different tone, right? With
Creature Commandos versus what? The horror
well,
movie
I was going to say
I don't understand any of this.
With animation, you expect it to be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, a little bit more humorous. In live action, you do expect it to be a little bit more serious.
I get that. And if they were keeping their animated things separate from their live action, but Gunn has gone on record saying this is all connected. The voice actors in these animated series, if they go on to be a live action version of that same character, it's going to be played by that voice actor. Yeah. That's why they had the guy that played the sheriff on Stranger Things. He's playing Frankenstein on Creature Commandos. So I guess if they did a live action version of this Frankenstein monster, it would be played by him. So it's like, make Clayface like the Blob, have him eat people. I'm tired. I don't know what the plan is for this thing. It doesn't. Yeah. But what do I know? Is there anything you've seen on here that looks positive? Maybe something you're looking for?
No, I mean, I see enough potential that it could be good, but my problem with it is they don't have enough what do you call it? A capital in trust with me that I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. They're gonna have to prove themselves.
Do they have enough capital, period? Are they trying, is this for the investors, all this talk? Like saying, look at all these amazing things that our DC universe is going to do. Don't you want to buy out Warner Brothers? Please take it off my hands. Or $4 billion in the hole. Please just take it off our hands. Because I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Is this like the Money Pit with the fancy house that's made out of balsa wood that Tom Hanks and Shelley Duvall bought in that movie? I mean,
right.
This is just
right. Exactly.
I don't know. We'll see. And no Batman till.
I think this is probably what's most frustrating to the fans is that these franchises should be an easy layup. You know, the source material exists. All you got to do is turn them into good films. And you make them into good films with good directors, good writing, and good actors. But unfortunately, that seems to be beyond the entertainment industry's ability these days.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just don't know. Oh, that's it. Okay. Anything to say about Clayface?
Another villain movie. Character that has so much potential that I don't have any faith will actually.
He was done great on Batman the Animated Series. He really does have this tragic origin. And yes, part of it's from his own choices too, but you do feel bad for him. And you know,
well, look, they did the same thing, like I was saying, with the. Well, actually, it really. It started with Mr. Freeze in the film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then they retroactively did it with the animated series.
No, animated series was first with that Mr. Freeze.
Was it really?
Yes, because that was one of the first episodes that aired, and it shows his tragic origin. And they later adapted that, I think, into the comics, and then into the Batman and Robin movie that we all love.
Okay, so they did it right. Basically, they took what worked and went with it. Even within the span of that Superman tale, they put him in prison, and it's like. You gotta do your time. You did the crime, but we want to give you an opportunity to give back to society. Keep working on your science there.
Yeah. Oh, there was a great episode of Batman Beyond where Mr. Freeze came back, and they were able to give him a new body in the future, and Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, was selling an old Bruce Wayne. He's like, hey, he's just an old man trying to put his house in order. It's a cold wind that blows in that house. And like he would say, like Batman did not trust it at all.
Yeah.
He's like saying, "Oh, it's I'm setting up a foundation with the money from the North for the North Freeze Foundation. It's justice, for justice." And
right.
And then Batman's like, more like blood money. That's what he said. He just had no sympathy for Mr. Freeze trying to turn a new leaf, which is weird because sometimes he would for villains that were trying to get out of it. Like the ventriloquist, I think he was actively trying to help in his reform. But yeah. But as far as Clayface goes, he is a tragic character whose life got ruined by some chemical makeup. Yeah, well. We have a new Jurassic World movie coming out this year, though, so you have that look forward to.
Do we really?
Yes, with ScarJo.
What are they going to do now?
ScarJo as like an espionage person, so I guess it's Black Widow in a Jurassic Park movie. I guess that was probably how it was.
They really have no ideas anymore, do they? Oh my gosh.
Well, we'll know more as more stuff comes out. Yeah, I like Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Yeah, but that's not who the Joker is. That's in fact all he was he was a gangster before, he was a gangster after. Nothing changed.
Yeah, he had a sense of humor.
Yeah, there you go. Honestly, I do think that I like not knowing the Joker's origin. I think they did it well when they did what?
I saw an interview with Cesar Romero talking to a reporter, and they said, it's an interesting, the Joker's origin. Apparently, when he was running away from Batman and Robin, he fell into a vat of chemicals, and that's how he became the Joker. And he was actually even in the 60s. So that origin goes back a ways. I know now they make it more mysterious.
But here's the problem. You don't know who he was before that incident. You know it from Batman's.
He was wearing the hood, yeah.
Right. You know the origin story from Batman's point of view, but he has no idea who the Joker was under that hood before that. And Joker seems to remember it differently every time he tells the story, which is very on point, which is why the Heath Ledger one worked so well.
Yeah. All right. But that's it for Geeky Geezers. What have we learned tonight, Charlie Brown? Public domain.
We've learned to trust but verify.
Public domain. That was the interesting article. Mark Malikoff submitted that, and it was interesting to see that you can now, if you want to get your own orchestra together, you can play an American in Paris and don't have to worry about being sued. So you have that to look forward to. Troy for the Joker's origins for the animated series movie Mask of the Phantasm. Here's the interesting thing. Even though he is shown on Batman the animated series, you finally get to see what he looked like before his Joker. He looked like some hired muscle for the mob, but you didn't really know who he was. He didn't have a name. He's just kind of there in the background. And Batman deduces, that guy was the guy who becomes the Joker, But yeah. Good stream, guys. Thank you, Jonathan Conroy.
Thank you, Jonathan
Conroy. We always appreciate compliments. Yes.
Great quote. You want to know how I got these scars? Which the one version of this story that he tells reminds me so much of really where the Joker came from in the real world, like what inspired him. The Man Who Laughs.
Yes, which was an important movie. In fact, if you look at the screenshots from that movie, The Man Who Laughs, it's almost scary how much
it's very clear that Kane and Finger were definitely inspired by that.
I've read the first Joker comic. It's really good. And the first Joker comic had Robin in it. People seem to forget that. Was like, why is Robin in this? But Robin's been around for a while.
That's also why it bothered me when they introduced the Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face at the same time that they were bringing in Robin. I'm like, that was a real missed opportunity. You actually should have held off on the Joker. Because let's face it, Tommy Lee Jones, they treated as if he was the Joker. They didn't really key into what Two-Face was meant to be.
Nope, they did not. That's what I loved about Batman the Animated Series. They made all the villains very distinct in their personalities. Two-Face's alternate personality was angry, like scary angry.
all the time about, being annoyed with the sympathetic villains. If you're going to have any sympathetic villains, they belong in Batman stories. They're supposed to be some of them sympathetic, all of them very tragic.
Yes.
Some of them are monsters, some of them aren't. But, there are some great stories to be told there if you want to have sympathetic villains.
Clayface is a literal monster, actually.
Yeah.
This is why William Dafoe should play the Joker. Oh, I don't know.
Well, he should have years ago. He's everybody that we were fan casting for the past 30 years have all gotten too old and aged out of.
I wanted Anthony Hopkins for the ventriloquist, but that didn't happen either. So, oh well.
Oh my gosh, that would have been good, right?
It would have been perfect, but who
well,
cares?
Nowadays, if you want to generate with AI and CG, you could.
He still acts in movies. Maybe they could still do it, but of course, again, they're taking forever to make these movies. Batman is a tragic story in himself, kind of. Yeah,
true. No, you're not wrong.
That's why we like having Robin around, because Robin kind of balances that out. It kind of brings out, I think, Bruce's Batman's humanity a bit more when Robin's around. But I prefer the Jurassic Park world over the Disney Star Wars, Disney live action movies, Disney Marvel movies, and even how is DC doing with the 200th Batman? Well,
good point. Excellent point. Can't argue that.
So what do we got going on this week? We have
So I'm going to try to do a Monday Night at the Movies tomorrow night. I've got the stream up. I created it through EvMux. I'm trying to figure EvMux out. So I don't know what movie I'm going to do. I don't even know if it's going to work out. Tune in and see. We'll treat it as a test stream on Monday.
You'll have to provide your own popcorn, though.
And yeah, exactly. And as far as Tuesday goes, are you still here, Deleted Scenes? We've been talking back and forth about whether or not we were going to start back with Live from Sparkwood in 21. I would like to, but I don't really have anything big prepared. So if you're here, Deleted Scenes, maybe we go ahead and do the stream if you want to, and we just treat it as a recap stream. Yeah. We've done the whole series and the film, and we're getting ready to go into a deeper dive. But maybe we need to do still here. Maybe do a little bit of a recap from all four. Well, I'm going to say all four of us, tentatively speaking for Netter, but she's been so gronky today. If she can't make it tomorrow, or excuse me, on Tuesday, let's not be too surprised.
Darth Plato says Batman is a fruitcake. Watch Batman the Brave and the Bold. There are some episodes where you wonder if Batman's the problem, but anyway, or like.
Well, from what I've been seeing I haven't seen an episode of Brave and the Bold, but
it's a comedy set.
Yeah, I have been seeing it through the eyes, through the, what do you call it? Through the keyhole, peeking through the keyhole at it, through the eyes of Casually Comics.
Yeah.
And she every time she mentions the Brave and the Bold, she ties an episode to an episode from the Golden Age of comics.
Because a lot of them were taken from those comics. Yeah.
Taken directly. If you know those comics, you go, holy crap, that's a deep dive. And I'm seeing this, I'm like, I've got to see this series because I know most of the comics these stories come from, you know?
Yeah. They even did a wonderful episode where he meets Superman, and it's the whole Superman gets red kryptonite, and it's the whole episode is based on all those covers where Superman is evil, you know?
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm King Superman, and, you know, like Jimmy Olsen, he killed Jimmy Olsen. You know, they do that whole thing. It's a whole episode based on those comic covers where Superman is doing bad things, and it's because he got red kryptonite. Someone did a rat. This must have happened on an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold. I know it happened on the Batman animated series that came out, but
yeah. So Darth Plato says Batman does not eat nachos, and I have it on good authority that Batman does not smell either.
Yeah, Batman the Brave is a cartoon version of the Adam West Batman. I think what it is too, Jesse Gardo, they were both channeling the same era of comics, the Adam West Batman, because it was made in the 60s, and Batman the Brave and the Bold is an homage. I think Adam West did a guest appearance on Batman the Brave and the Bold too.
I would not be surprised at all. Yeah.
So he would do guest appearances on these cartoons. Like he was on an original episode of Batman the Animated Series as a character called the Gray Ghost that was on a TV show that Bruce Wayne watched that was very influential to him, when he was a child. But yeah, he was basically the Gray Ghost was like a Shadow style character,
Yeah.
William Dafoe, son Jack King, can play the Joker. He's a better looking version of his father. Interesting. So
I'm looking at him right now. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Samuel Proctor. Yeah, saw an episode of the Blue Beetle and thought it was lame. It gets better. That episode was okay. They're better. It's a bit jarring when you were looking at this new Batman cartoon and saw it was goofy. When you, I would say anyone stick through it to the end of the first season, you'll appreciate it.
Yeah, and again, if you don't have a good handle on the early Silver Age comics, things like Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane and stuff like that.
Man,
a lot of those imaginary stories they did.
They did ridiculous stuff on
it was bizarre. I mean, there are some scenes that come out of that era of comics, just memeable, out of context.
Yep.
Like you've seen the meme of Batman slapping Robin.
Oh.
That comes from that era too. There's also a great panel of Batman with Lois Lane over his lap and he's getting ready to spank her.
Yes.
These all come from that era and it is off the hook bizarre.
Samuel, didn't mean to misrepresent you. I know now you say looking back, it's a masterpiece. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I was mainly reiterating my own thought on that first episode. I was kind of iffy too. I was just trying to say, but it's but yeah. All right. Nothing going on Wednesday, Thursday. Oh wait, Tuesday. Tuesday you have Blake 7.
Oh yeah. I will be doing the we'll be starting season 2 of Blake 7 again. This time it should work. I have less confidence in the streaming portion of it, but I'm pretty sure that Cosme will be okay for carrying the episode itself. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But then, yes, on Thursday, Netter's guest from last Tuesday, Left Eye Ego, who couldn't make it last week, should be able to join her on Thursday, again, assuming Netter's up to snuff on Thursday. That's 9 Central, 10 Eastern over on Netter's network.
Cool. And then that brings us to Friday, which I believe is going to be a certain someone's celebration of
50 some years floating around this big hydrogen ball. I'll be what? 53? Okay, Netter did the maths for me. I'm 53. Sorry. Nope, 54. She tried to squeeze off a year there.
For 2025, 5 minus 1 is 4, so you're 54.
Yeah, 54. There you go. So I am going to be doing my plan is, if this works out right, is to have a non-monetized stream. I think that means that there should be no ads, but you can still super chat me. If you can't super chat me, I will definitely have the PayPal link, because one option is, if you would like to hear me sing a song, I will sing a song for you. My request, however, is that you choose from among the artists who share my birthday. And as far as I know, that's a group including Elvis Presley, David Bowie, and Shirley Bassey.
Mm-hmm.
If you know of anyone else who was a major singer who was born on January 8th, I would be open to trying to sing a song by that artist. But I've already got a few requests in the bank, so I get to practice those in advance.
Cool. And
Darth Plato, I'm sure I am. I'm probably slightly older than most of the people here, including Aged Boomer here. I'm real close to Nate, but I think I'm a year older than him.
Thank you, Geek Flag.
Another $2 for Netter because sick. From all of us to you. That's nice of you.
Thank you.
And but yeah. So yeah. Songs and singing on Friday. And then Saturday we're over to Big Al Presents Films with Friends. And I've forgotten what the movie is.
No, it was a fantasy movie, right? Was it Labyrinth?
Or yes, that's right. Okay, that's right. He was commenting he didn't know that it was David Bowie's birthday this week. He said that was very serendipitous. Yes. So yeah,
I like that movie, Labyrinth. It's weird, but I like it.
He was shocked to find out I had not yet seen it.
Oh, you haven't? You've never seen it?
Not. I've seen parts of it.
You'll like David Bowie in it. He's interesting. It's. I like the fact we don't get a Wicked Witch. Finally, we get something else as the bad guy, as the villain, as the antagonist in a children's fantasy. It's interesting. He's the Goblin King. Yeah. But
I've seen a lot of interesting fan theories about the film, and I'm like, I haven't even seen the film to know what these theories are about.
There's a lot of stuff there. This is peak Jim Henson. Okay, this was
yes. See, and that's why I've seen portions of it. Yeah. My brother was a huge Jim Henson fan, so he'd try to watch it, but some of it was pretty intense. And
it's for older kids, I would say. Yeah.
My brother, being autistic, really couldn't make it through the whole film. So
I understand.
I'd have to stop, and we wouldn't end up seeing the whole film. He had a hard time with big portions of The Dark Crystal as well.
Yeah, kind of in a similar vein, except you have Jennifer Connelly in this movie. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I saw Labyrinth Theater with my dad as a few months ago. First time, I loved it. I forgot they re-released that, didn't they?
Yeah.
All right. And that brings us to Sunday, in which you'll be sure to check out Deleted Scenes channel. Thank you all for stopping by here who are on his unscripted stream. And then, of course, we'll be back to Geeky Geezers next week, which I don't know what news we'll bring, but it is the new year, and hopefully the news will start spitting out some interesting topics. So this year wasn't as bad as I thought. This week wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. We had some stories to talk about, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I hate to say goodbye, but The Brutalist, Best Picture Drama Action Director. What is this? Oh, Golden Globes. He's announcing the Golden Globes. You'll have to do an update on that, Deleted Scenes. And I may be having Deleted Scenes on in the future to talk about the Oscar nominations coming out. So, yeah, that'll be fun. All right, y'all. Have a good night. And we will end with the Geeky Geezers credits.